What is up, guys? It is Froggy Fresh here, as today we are back at it to look into the epicness that is Warhammer 40k, or should I say 30k in this matter, because today we are looking at the Primarch Death Match, the epic battle royale that pits all of the Traitor Primarchs in a no-holds-barred cage match. No, it's not a cage match, but it is a Warhammer 40k 7th edition battle report using the stat lines for the Primarchs from their Horus Heresy eras. So this is what I was looking forward to, so much more than that of the Loyalists. If you do want to see the Loyalists, check out the video from 2 days ago where I covered that. There's also a link down in the description where you guys can go to the Warhammer community page and read all the juicy, spicy details for yourself. But for today, let's look at this epic death match that pits Fulgrim, Perturabo, Magnus, Mortarion, Angron, Conrad, Kurz. He's got two names. Alfarius, and of course we can't forget about Lorgar and Horus. 9 will enter, and only 1 will come out on top. The thing about this one that really sets it apart is that it's everybody against everybody all at once. Whereas the Loyalist, they took turns fighting. It was more of a tournament of power style bracket, where this one is literally a game of Fortnite. They throw them into an arena and they fight. Everything is out on the table, whereas, for example, where it was the Loyalist, Jagtai Khan was, kicked out. It sucks to be the Khan. But for this, magic is, like, psychic powers is a thing, all their war gear's there, so this is really fun. So without further ado, guys, again, check it out if you want to read all the details in the description below, but let's dive into this battle. So right out of the bat, the one Primarch that you would expect to be charging into the fight, Angron, has now charged against none other than Conrad Kurz. Unfortunately, with the combined assault from Gorefather and Gorechild, Kurz was ripped to pieces. With only 1 wound remaining, he fell. Conrad Kurz was out. It sucks. Like, this dude didn't even get a chance to do anything. It's like, well, I mean, when you're going up against Angron, like, come on. Especially when Angron has the charge. Yeah, he had 1 wound left. He attacked, whiffed, and then he died. So right out the bat, Conrad Kurz is KO'd. Next up, Perturabo and Fulgrim went at each other, and it was a pretty interesting battle because Perturabo was shooting off bolter rounds from his wrist blaster. However, Fulgrim closed the distance pretty quickly, roaring out a challenge to his, I guess you could call him his ugly stepbrother. And he agreed. So as they were locked in close combat, the swordsman rule gave Fulgrim a really good buff, and because of this, the Blade of the Lair caused 4 wounds to Perturabo. But as we all know, Perturabo likes his Terminator armor, and that allowed him to continue fighting, but only for a little bit, because on the next turn, finally, the agile Fulgrim took out the life from Perturabo. So as of right now, Perturabo and Conrad Kurz are taken out, while Angron is pretty much untouched, and Fulgrim has a few wounds on him. During this next sequence of events, Lorgar and Alfarius decided to team up to take out none other than the War Master himself, Horus. Unfortunately, Horus knew that, everybody was going to come for his head, so he was ready for it. He ended up shooting out bolter fire, driving back Alfarius, but Lorgar kept continuing. He ended up going right up to him, and the High Priest Lorgar's blows did nothing. They literally just bounced off from Horus's armor, as finally Lorgar took a freaking talon to the chest. The thing about Horus's talon is that whenever it hits, it reduces the hit target's strength as well as their weapon skill, and that was enough to weaken Lorgar to the point where Horus slew him. A bitter rivalry was about to begin and maybe end, as Mortarion, a man who hates magic, goes up to one of the strongest Primarchs currently on the battlefield, the Red Cyclopean Magnus the Red. And Magnus, he's not going to go down like a punk, so he ended up empowering himself with the Iron Arm psychic ability, bringing his strength to a whopping 10 and his toughness to a nigh untouchable 9. However, would this be enough to stop Mortarion and his mighty scythe silence? Apparently it was. The scythe did hit and it did cause 2 wounds, but nothing really happened here. However, as this fight was going on, Alfarius, who saw Lorgar be defeated by Horus, knew that Horus is obviously too tough to take on, on a one-to-one combat. So he ended up moving towards the battle between Magnus and Mortarion, which obviously they were too caught up in the battle themselves, and he figured he could get in there and strike him down. So with his mighty spear, he went in, causing 3 wounds to Magnus the Red, who he thought was the biggest threat. Unfortunately, as this was happening, Fulgrim also jumped into the fray to strike down Alfarius with his mighty Laren blade. The weakened Magnus was brought to his knees thanks to Alfarius' spear, but as he tried to stand up, silence severed his head from his body, taking out all life from the Cyclops. Another one bites the dust. Jumping over the decapitated Magnus, Angron jumps into this battle as once again his chain axes rip and tear into Fulgrim's body as he was delighting himself from having killed Alfarius. And this blow was just enough to slay the Emperor's Children's Primarch, as another Primarch ends up joining most of the combatants in the afterlife. At this point, we are down to the final 3 combatants, a heavily bruised and battered Mortarion, the Red Angel, Angron, and Horus, the expert combatant. It is all up to them. Who will come out on top? Well, let's find out. So, as Angron is now cleaning his blades from the ichor and viscera from Fulgrim's body, Mortarion goes on the offensive, trying to take out his brother Angron. But this was easy prey for Angron, as just as quickly as he killed Fulgrim, he then chopped Mortarion to pieces. Horus laughed as he just saw all his other Primarchs taking each other out. The fools they were, for they should have worked together to take him out. But finally, the final battle is at hand. The blood-soaked, wounded butcher against the War Master. Who will come out on top? Only one will survive. Sticking true to his battle tactics, Angron charged forth towards Horus, which Horus avoided most of the blows, but one ended up catching Horus right in the shoulder as he took a wound. The Lupercal just laughed as he slammed Worldbreaker fatally upon Angron's head, blowing it like a watermelon would. This proved once and for all that he truly was the chosen warrior of chaos. The winner of this battle royale is none other than the traitor Primarch responsible for the entire heresy, Horus Lupercal. Now, here's the critique. For as awesome as this little battle royale was, and it's pretty cool. Like when you picture it in your head, seeing all the Primarchs battle, you're seeing old feuds, rising up, and how these epic combatants, are choosing to fight. It's cool and all, but it doesn't make sense why they'd leave Horus by himself for the entirety of the whole match. Like, this dude came out pretty much unscathed. He was only hit once by Lorgar, which did nothing, and he ended up butchering him. And because of this, Alfarius was like, yeah, I have no chance. So Alfarius ended up going to another battle. And the whole time, everybody's just like, it doesn't make sense. Lore-wise, yeah, I think Horus probably would have won if he actually went into fights. Not just, like, the way I pictured it, it's like, Horus is in the middle of the battlefield, and there's fights all around him, and it's like, nobody's coming to him because he's the strongest one. Horus is like the Jiren from Dragon Ball Super. It's like he's just there, and you know he's just like a mass of energy, chaotic energy for this matter. And everybody else is just like, well, let's pick off the easy ones. But once you pick off the easy ones, you're leaving yourself vulnerable for his counterattack. And yeah, Angron probably would have had a good chance to take him down if he wasn't down to like the last wounds that he had. Like Angron took down what, 2 or 3 Primarchs, Mortarion, Fulgrim, and Conrad Kurz, yeah. So it would make sense that this dude is like really tired, really beaten up, and it's like he stood no chance against the Horus, who still had all his wounds. So, I mean, I commend the Warhammer guys. Like, this is really fun. It's really cool to see the Primarchs, you know, go at it in a what-if scenario. But when it's so blatantly in the favor of Horus, it's just like, okay, yeah, I get it. It is cool, though. I like it a lot. What I do like more about this than the one-on-one fights with the Loyalist Primarchs is that this actually was pretty chaotic. Like, you didn't know who was going to fight who. I was eagerly, you know, trying to read each paragraph. Like, okay, this is when Fulgrim, like, gets possessed by the demon and goes all out, or I'm pretty sure Alfaris is going to do some trickiness. It didn't happen, but just like the anticipation was really cool. It'd be really cool to see these two styles of fights flipped, as to where we have the Traitor Primarchs go one-on-one, and we have a battle royale for the Loyalists. That'd be really awesome. But we still have one last battle to look into, and that is the winner of the 2 tournaments. Horus Lupercal, I don't even know if I should call him Primarch of the Luna Wolves, because like, that's not a thing anymore. And he's not well, I guess he was always Primarch of, you know, the bad guys, but he's dead. But anyway, we have Lionel Johnson going up against Horus. Place your bets, guys. Who will come out on top? Let's find out.